Discover the incredible love story. She unknowingly shared her heart with her millionaire boss. In the heart of a small Midwestern town, there was a diner where dreams simmered like the pot of coffee that never seemed to run out. Sarah, a spirited 28-year-old waitress, was the heartbeat of this cozy haven, her laughter echoing through the clinking of plates and the chatter of regulars. Each day, she wore her smile like armor, deflecting the weight of caring for her ailing father, a proud war veteran. She believed in hard work, resilience, and the importance of family values her dad instilled in her when they shared quiet moments on their small porch. "Can I get you more coffee, Mr. Thompson?" she chirped, eyes twinkling as she poured a fresh cup for the kind old man sitting at his usual booth. He grinned back, the wrinkles of his face deepening as he beamed at her. Sarah's warmth radiated through the diner, creating a bubble of comfort where patrons could escape life's pressures, if only for a moment. However, change swept into the diner like a harsh Midwestern wind when Jake, the new boss, began to frequent the establishment for meetings. Clad in a tailored suit and a poised demeanor, he was a world away from the diner's worn wooden tables and smiling, greasy fry cooks. Each time Sarah served him, their interactions sparked with an unexpected connection, laughter intertwined with the scent of pancakes and sizzling bacon. But unbeknownst to Sarah, he wasn't just a businessman trying to revamp the diner. He was a CEO of a successful tech company poised to alter the economic landscape of their community. And he felt profoundly isolated from the very people he wanted to uplift. The weight of his guilt hung heavy on him, as he admired Sarah's authenticity and dedication. Each smile forged a bridge between their contrasting worlds, but a storm was brewing. Then one fateful day, while cleaning a table, Sarah stumbled upon some documents that cracked her perception. Jake's true identity crashed over her like a wave, bringing with it feelings of betrayal and anger. Was their laughter nothing more than a facade? Could someone so wealthy ever truly understand her struggles? It was as if the ground beneath her feet crumbled away, and the diner, once a refuge, felt suffocating. Just as Sarah resolved to pull away, a flicker of hope ignited. Jake, passionate and sincere, announced plans for a charity event aimed at reviving local businesses, a revelation that stunned her. The depth of his character rose from the shadows, intertwining love with the messy realities of human connection. She hesitated, torn between resentment and the possibility of something beautiful. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Sarah grappled with her emotions, she pondered whether love could blossom amid stark class distinctions. Could she embrace the complexities of their worlds colliding? Or would fear hold her back from the heartfelt connection she'd begun to crave? She stood at a crossroads, uncertainty swirling around her like the smell of freshly brewed coffee. Would she dare to let love bridge the divide? Or would she retreat into safety, leaving unanswered questions lingering in the air, begging for resolution? The following day, Sarah stood in the diner, her heart thumping loudly. The tables were exactly where she had left them, yet everything felt different. Each clink of the plates now echoed her internal conflict. How could she continue to pour coffee and serve pancakes, pretending everything was normal, when her world felt like it was spinning on its axis? Jake entered, the morning sunlight casting a halo around him. He moved with confidence, but when his eyes met hers, there was a flicker of uncertainty. "Morning, Sarah," he said, his voice warm but careful, like he was testing the waters. "Morning," she managed, avoiding his gaze. A lump formed in her throat. Would he offer an explanation? Was he just going to pretend their connection didn't exist? The lines between her feelings of admiration and betrayal blurred, and she wished for clarity. Drawing a breath, she steeled herself as she moved closer. "I saw the proposal, the charity event." Her voice was steadier than she felt. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jake furrowed his brow, a hint of surprise on his face. "I didn't think it was relevant. I wanted to keep it simple, just focus on the diner." "Simple?" she exclaimed, shaking her head. "You can't just do that. You've got this whole other life, and I'm here serving coffee. He took a step forward, his expression gentle but firm. You're more than a waitress to me, Sarah. You're the heart of this place. Your laughter, your kindness, it made me want to give back. I didn't mean to hide anything from you. Her heart softened a little, yet doubts still gnawed at her mind. Would he really understand the life she led, the struggles she faced day to day? It was one thing to swoop in with charity and plans. It was another to stay grounded in the reality of her world. Why now? Why not just keep everything as it was? She asked, voice trembling slightly. You come in here, make me feel like we share something, then I find out you're this big-time CEO. Feeling vulnerable, she turned away, pouring herself a cup of coffee, letting the warm steam rise to her face. Jake watched her intently before brushing a hand through his hair, frustration and desire mingling in his eyes. Because I've been looking for something real. I don't want to live behind the money or the title. I want to connect with people, with you. She turned back, surprised to see such honesty in his expression. But, can you really connect with someone like me? The question left her lips before she could stop it. I believe we can. But I need you to trust me, he replied, stepping closer until the space between them seemed to disappear. Let me show you that it's more than just business for me. A moment hung thick in the air, their worlds seemingly colliding and intertwining. Sarah searched his eyes, hoping to find sincerity beneath the weight of wealth and responsibility that pressed upon him. As she studied him, a flicker of longing spread through her heart, battling with fear. What if he was right? What if love could bridge the chasm of their lives? But was she brave enough to leap into the unknown? Just then, the bell above the diner door jingled, breaking the spell, and a group of regulars walked in, laughing, oblivious to the tension between Sarah and Jake. Sorry, sir, but it seems we're a bit busy, she snapped, taking a step back, unsure if she was pushing him away out of fear or protecting the fragile hope that bloomed within her. Sarah, he called softly, but she walked away, feeling her heart twist. That evening, Sarah stared into the darkness outside her bedroom window. The streetlights flickered like stars, and her heart ached for the connection she was already feeling with Jake. But could she really take a chance with someone who seemed so different from her life? As the wind whispered secrets, she felt a mix of fear and excitement. She knew one thing for sure. The charity event was going to be a turning point. Would she attend, embracing the messy complications of potential love and vulnerability? Or would she choose comfort, never knowing what could have been? All she could do was wait for the dawn and hope that choice would become clearer with the light of a new day. The next morning arrived with a sky painted in shades of pink and orange, but Sarah's heart remained clouded. As she prepared for her shift at the diner, she felt the weight of indecision settle heavily on her chest. Would she really have the courage to step outside of her comfort zone? The very thought made her stomach twist. When she arrived at the diner, the familiar sights greeted her. The signs swinging in the breeze, the smell of bacon sizzling on the griddle, and the cheerful chatter of regulars. Yet, the comfort of these routines was overshadowed by her thoughts of Jake. He could be so captivating, yet such a source of turmoil for her heart. Just as she started to calm herself, the bell jingled again, and in walked Jake, as if he had been summoned by her thoughts. He looked different today, less polished in his business attire, more relaxed in a casual button-down shirt. He flashed her a smile, one that made her pulse quicken. Hey, he said cheerfully, his eyes sparkling. Can I help in the kitchen today? I realized I may have overstepped yesterday. That surprised her. He had the means to have people at his beck and call, yet here he was, offering to wash dishes and chop vegetables on a Tuesday morning. A mixture of admiration and confusion danced within her. She stammered, trying to mask her fluttering heart. That's not necessary. It is to me, he insisted, moving behind the counter. I want to be part of this space. I want to be someone who stands with you, not above you. As he began to work, the comfortable hum of the diner filled the air. The clinks of silverware and the sizzle of frying eggs offered a sort of backdrop to their burgeoning connection. Still, as she watched him, a question loomed at the edges of her mind. What did he really see in her? Their conversations danced between playful and sincere. They joked about who could make the better breakfast special and shared little personal stories about their lives. At one point, Jake leaned in closer, their shoulders brushing unintentionally, and Sarah felt heat rise to her cheeks. The world outside the diner faded away, and it was just the two of them in that moment. But just as moments of clarity often do, confusion crept back in. Jake was good at connecting, but could that connection bear the burdens of her reality? Just then, an elderly couple entered, their presence breaking the intensity of the moment. As Sarah turned to greet them, she felt Jake's gaze shift away, and a pang of longing shot through her. Later, as they worked side by side, she unwittingly reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, tattered photo of her family, a rare moment of vulnerability she hoped to share with him. "This is my dad," she said quietly, pointing at the smiling face captured in the photograph. "He worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. I come from a different world, Jake." Jake stopped, his expression softening. "That's beautiful, Sarah. I admire that you're grounded. But you don't have to hide from me. You don't have to be perfect." "Perfect?" she echoed, an involuntary laugh escaping her. "I'm far from it, believe me. We all are," he replied, moving closer. "What matters is being real. I'm real about how I feel about you." A silence settled, heavy with unspoken words. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, the bell jangled again. It was one of the diner's regulars, and they called for help. Sarah turned reluctantly, breaking the connection they shared, but her heart raced. She knew she was at a crossroads. Could she trust Jake enough to share the truth of who she was and what she feared? Would stepping into the light of love mean leaving some of her past behind? The day wore on, but in her heart, a storm brewed. If she didn't make a choice soon, she might lose the chance that flickered like a candle between them. Leaving her alone in the darkness, she wiped down the tables after the lunch rush. Sarah's thoughts turned inevitably to the charity event. She had an invitation in her pocket and wondered, could that night change everything? What would happen if she decided to attend, and what could that truly mean for them? The decision loomed on the horizon, waiting, stirring within her like the promise of a new day. The afternoon sun cast a warm glow through the diner's windows, and Sarah felt a mix of urgency and dread swirling within her. The charity event was just days away, and every time she glanced at the invitation tucked away in her apron pocket, her heart fluttered with anticipation and fear. Could she really step out of her routine and into the life she often denied herself? As the evening shift began, the diner buzzed with customers. Somewhere in the rhythm of coffee pours and orders shouted, Sarah found herself catching Jake's "I'm more than once." Each time their gazes met, a spark ignited, igniting the hope dwelling in her heart. Yet, she clenched her fists, reminding herself of the wall she had built. It was safe there. It was predictable. But was it really living? "Diner special coming up," she called back, laughing as Jake expertly flipped a pancake. There was an ease in their banter, a connection she felt growing stronger with every shared moment. He wasn't just her boss. He was becoming her confidant, her anchor amidst the storm. "Let us make dinner together later," he suggested casually, surprising her with the invitation. "I think we need to celebrate the diner's success today." Her stomach dropped. Dinner, just the two of them? She could almost hear the voice of doubt creeping in, reminding her of all the reasons she couldn't allow this to happen. "Maybe we should just stick to our usual work routine," she replied lightly, hoping to mask the tremor in her voice. Jake paused, his brow furrowing slightly. "Sarah, I see what is happening here. You're good at pushing me away. But I'm not going anywhere. Not this time." His eyes were fierce, a contrast to his gentle tone. Sarah felt her breath hitch. His words sunk deep, cutting through the maze of her defenses. Even as she battled her hesitation, a quiet excitement flickered in the depths of her heart. The evening moved slowly, with customers drifting in and out, higher volumes of laughter, and laughter mingling with smell of comfort food. But Sarah's thoughts tangled back to Jake and the invitation that lay crinkled in her pocket. Despite her reservations, her heart wanted to leap toward that unpredictable future he seemed to offer. When the last customer finally left and the door swung shut, Sarah took a deep breath. "Okay, let us make dinner." She smiled nervously, feeling the weight of her decision. Jake perked up, the corners of his mouth lifting in that irresistible way that set her heart racing. "Really? You mean it? Why not?" she replied. "Let us see if our cooking skills match our breakfast prowess." As they gathered ingredients from the diner's modest kitchen, they slipped into a comfortable rhythm. They chopped, stirred, and laughed, and slowly, the barriers that Sarah had tucked away began to erode. Honestly, I always admire how you handle everything around here. You're so capable, Jake remarked, his praise echoing in the cozy space. You have a talent for bringing people together. Sarah blushed at the compliment, but couldn't ignore the cloud of doubt still lingering. I'm just a waitress, Jake. I'm used to managing things on a small scale. Incredible things often come from simple beginnings, Sarah, he said softly, stepping closer. Their gazes locked, and she felt the warmth radiating off him. The warmth between them began to morph from playful banter into something deeper, a coveted intimacy that sent her heart racing. Just when she thought she might find the courage to let go of her chains, the range hood began to smoke. Oh, Sarah exclaimed, jumping back in surprise as they both reached to turn off the burner. A cloud of smoke enveloped them, breaking the moment's intensity. She laughed, trying to lighten the mood, but deep down, she sensed the reality of their undeniable connection as the smoke settled. Sarah realized the undeniable truth: they were much more than just boss and employee. Could she embrace what this meant? Could she hold on to the spark igniting between them? And as she watched Jake fumble in the haze, a thought struck her. Something deep inside said, maybe tonight, she'd take the first step towards a connection that was more than she ever imagined possible. But the looming night, with its own uncertainties, still held a question. Would she be able to reveal her heart fully, or would fear snuff out this chance before it even began? The haze of smoke lingered like a memory, pushing Jake and Sarah into a moment of clarity. Holding her breath, Sarah felt the thrilling blend of fear and hope rise within her. Could this night finally be different? Could she finally peel back the layers she had so carefully constructed? Jake took a step back, shaking off the distraction of the smoke. All right, fire hazard averted. He laughed, his eyes brightening with playful mischief. Where were we? Ah yes, cooking. What's next on the menu? She looked down, cheeks flushed, heart still racing. How about we try that pasta dish I mentioned? The words escaped her, surprising even herself. It felt as if she were leaning off the edge of a high dive, teetering towards something exhilarating. Perfect. I trust your judgment. Lead the way. He gestured dramatically, prompting her to take the lead. They gathered the ingredients, laughter weaving through the kitchen like a welcome melody as they cooked. Sarah felt the walls of her heart shift. They chopped fresh tomatoes, the vibrant reds contrasting with the deep green of basil. Each movement felt intentional, each shared glance electrifying. As Jake stirred the sauce, he turned to her, seriousness flashing across his face. Why do you keep doubting yourself, Sarah? You are more than just a waitress. The intensity of his gaze made her stomach flutter. I don't know, it's just how I've always seen myself. She shrugged, fighting to channel the doubt choking her. I guess I'm scared of the unknown. But isn't life supposed to be a little messy? Like this sauce? He chuckled, flicking a bit of sauce playfully at her. Their laughter melded, but she could hear a deeper undertone in his question. His eyes held a depth that made everything seem manageable. Messy, yes, but unpredictable? That's where it gets scary. She glanced at him, vulnerability tucked behind her words. His voice softened. Unpredictable is where the excitement lives. Taking chances, connecting with people. That's what makes it all worth it. He reached out, brushing her elbow as he spoke, and butterflies erupted inside her. Their closeness brought a silence, thick with unspoken words. Sarah felt the urge to spill everything, to reveal the chaotic, beautiful dreams she kept locked inside. Yet the fear gripped her again. What if he didn't feel the same way? What if she opened her heart, and it was all for nothing? Jake leaned in slightly, searching her expression, and there was an earnestness in his eyes that stirred her. You know, I get it. Stepping out of your comfort zone can be terrifying. But I promise you, I'm here. No matter what. Suddenly the walls she had built around her heart felt impossibly fragile, like they might crumble at his next words. She bit her lip, caught in a whirlwind of feelings. I want to believe that, she murmured, her voice barely a whisper. She wanted to open up, to cry out her fears and hopes. But fear still buzzed at the edges of her mind, spiraling her back into hesitation. Before she could speak, the oven timer beeped loudly, pulling her back to reality. Dinner's ready, she exclaimed, forcing a smile. Let us see how the sauce turned out. As they plated the food, the connection between them crackled with uncharted potential. Eating together felt intimate, like a secret shared. The world outside faded, leaving just them, Cloistered in the warmth of the diner as they shared bites, Sarah noticed Jake's gaze lingering on her lips. Her heart raced as she realized the moment unfolding. The air was thick with shared energy, a yearning just waiting to spark. Sarah's voice was low, thick with emotion. Just then, the diner door swung open, and the bell jingled, startling them both. A few late-night customers shuffled in, breaking the fragile moment. Sarah's heart sank, the sudden intrusions reminding her of the distance that still existed. Could she find the courage to jump into what could be, or would this moment slip through her fingers like so many others? Maybe we should not keep them waiting, she said quickly, darting her gaze away. In her heart, she felt the unanswered questions echoing loudly, like distant thunder of a storm brewing just beyond the horizon. Would she be able to voice her fears when the time was right? And what about Jake? Could he be the one to finally help her weave the story she had buried deep inside? The door swung shut, and Jake's eyes flickered back to Sarah, a hint of disappointment shadowing his features. The moment had felt electric, full of promise, but now, the clatter of plates and the hum of chatter filled the space, suffocating their connection. Sarah's heart raced, a mix of regret and yearning knotting in her stomach. She tried to redirect her focus, engaging with the new customers as they settled in, but all the while Jake's presence loomed like a warm shadow beside her. He seemed lost in thought, glancing briefly at the new arrivals before stealing glances at her. Each look sparked a flicker of hope, but it was quickly extinguished by doubt. "Hey," he called softly after a moment, leaning against the counter, arms crossed. "Can I help with anything while we wait?" Just grab some drinks," she said, grateful for the distraction. "I'll take care of the orders." As Jake moved to the fridge, Sarah took a deep breath, trying to shake off the unwelcome heaviness. The laughter and chatter surrounding her felt like a wall, separating her from the exhilarating intimacy they had just been sharing. Minutes passed, and she found herself slipping into routine. She jotted down orders, chatted with familiar faces, and even offered a warm smile here and there. But the warmth of the kitchen faded without Jake's laughter by her side. Suddenly, she caught sight of him at the end of the counter, stealing a glance out the window, the streetlight illuminating his profile. There was something fragile about the way he stood, shoulders slightly slumped, burdened by thoughts she wished she could ease. "Jake?" she called softly, unable to suppress the pull in her chest. He turned, his expression shifting instantly, brightening at the sound of her voice. "Yeah? Everything okay?" she asked, stepping closer, drawn to him like a moth to a flame. "Just thinking." A sheepish smile danced on his lips. "About us. About tonight. I want to finish that conversation." Feelings began to bubble up again, those familiar anxieties tugging at her. Here they were, standing just a breath apart, surrounded by the chaos of the diner, and yet it felt like the whole world had faded. "And what if there's nothing to say?" she challenged softly, her voice shaking with vulnerability, a hint of challenge behind it. "Seriously?" Jake chuckled, but there was an undercurrent of seriousness in his tone. "That's not true. We both feel this whatever it is going on between us." Sarah hesitated, uncertainty gnawing at her insides. Could she vocalize her fears? Could she risk it all? What if it's just a fantasy? A night out? "You're significant, Jake. You have plans and dreams. And you don't think you could fit into those?" His brow furrowed in disbelief. "Sarah, you have no idea how special you are, right? You're bright and passionate, more than just a waitress to me." The weight of his words hit her like a punch in the gut. Before she could reply, an excited shout came from the far corner of the diner. "Hey, Jake!" A group of familiar faces waved him over, and she felt the moment slipping once again. "Go," she nudged him, her heart racing. "I can handle things here. I'll be okay." His expression wavered between reluctance and obligation. "I'll be right back," he promised, giving her a lingering gaze filled with unsaid things before he slipped away. Sarah stood, her heart racing, torn between wanting to call him back and the pull of what was happening around her. She started organizing a few tables, but her thoughts were a jumble. Could she really open herself up? What if he was right? What if this was the beginning of something beautiful? As she lost herself in her thoughts, a tension brewed in the air. Could she find a way to bring Jake back to their unfinished conversation? What happens next? She whispered to herself, the answer still just out of reach. The clatter of plates and the lively chatter of customers faded into a dull backdrop as Sarah's thoughts swirled around Jake. She could scarcely breathe with the weight of her unspoken feelings pressing down on her. Every laugh from across the diner felt like another moment slipping through her fingers, another chance lost. "Sarah!" A voice called from a nearby table, breaking her reverie. It was Mrs. Thompson, the sweet lady who came in every Thursday for her eggs and toast. Sarah forced a smile, pushing her thoughts aside. "What do I owe you for my usual?" "Just the usual, Mrs. Thompson," Sarah replied, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. She moved to grab the check, but her mind shuffled back to Jake, who was now laughing with his friends, his head thrown back in that charming way that always made her pulse race. With every second that ticked by, the connection she had been feeling moments ago became a distant memory, drowned in the noise of the diner. She reminded herself that she was here, working a job that paid her bills, that kept her grounded. But in her heart, she longed for more. "Are you okay, dear? You seem a bit lost in thought," Mrs. Thompson said, eyes narrowing with concern. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind," Sarah replied, thankful for the brief distraction. "Sometimes love feels like chaos, doesn't it?" Mrs. Thompson winked, her smile warm and reassuring. "You just need to follow your heart." "Love?" The word echoed in Sarah's mind, settling into her chest with a familiar ache. Was Jake love? Could he be? Before she could plunge deeper into her musings, Jake returned, his eyes bright, his laughter still lingering in the air around him. "What is going on?" he asked, glancing at Sarah with curiosity, a playful smile creeping onto his lips. "Just your usual fan club," she said, gesturing toward Mrs. Thompson, who waved back cheerfully. "Well, I don't blame them," he teased, leaning on the counter, seemingly at ease. But Sarah could see the flicker of unease in his gaze. It mirrored her own uncertainties. For a brief moment, their eyes locked, and the world around them dimmed. The noisy diner dissolved into silence. "About earlier," he started, the words hanging between them, thick with promise and tension. "Maybe we should," she began, but the sudden clamor of pots and pans crashing to the ground startled them both. Sarah turned instinctively to check on the commotion, and when she turned back, the moment had faded. "Everything okay?" Jake asked, concern etched on his face. Just a small accident," she replied, her heart sinking. The interruption felt like fate mocking her, a cruel reminder of the walls that existed between them. In a bid to regain her composure, Sarah refocused on her work. She moved from table to table, but Jake remained an unanswered question at the back of her mind. The evening wore on, each cycle of orders weaving uncertainty tighter around her heart as the last customer made their way out. The diner's buzz fell silent, leaving a thick air of anticipation hanging between them. With the clock ticking toward closing time, Sarah felt the urgency churn inside her. "I really want to talk. You know," Jake finally spoke, crossing the distance between them, his gaze earnest. "I need you to know that I'm here. For you." Her breath caught in her throat. "Are you sure?" The words slipped out before she could catch them, vulnerability raw on her tongue. Jake hesitated, a flicker of something akin to fear passing through his eyes. "I hope so. But honestly, I don't know how to get it right." "Not yet." The weight of his admission settled between them. They were both standing on a precipice, and the fear of falling was palpable. "Maybe we both need to see where this goes," Sarah suggested, feeling a rush of courage swell within her. "Yeah, we do," Jake replied, his voice firm. "We can't keep letting moments slip away." But as night descended outside and the diner grew darker, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were nearing a turning point where their fears could either tether them apart or lead them toward a shared path. "What if we find a way to meet halfway?" Sarah asked, trembling with anticipation. "Then let us figure it out together," Jake said, his eyes filled with determination. Yet as an uneasy silence stretched out before them, both knew that a choice lay ahead, one that would define not just their night, but what they could build moving forward. "Are you ready for that?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, as the reality of the moment hung heavy between them. Was she ready? The question loomed large, leaving Sarah breathless as she contemplated their uncertain future. The moment hung between them like an unspoken promise, flickering with dread and hope at the same time. Sarah's instincts screamed at her to grab this chance, But the comfort of her quiet life held her back. A life where nothing ventured and nothing gained seemed preferable to the chaos love brought. Jake, what if we end up hurting each other? The words tumbled from her mouth before she could stop them. His expression softened, and Sarah could see the sincerity in his eyes. I think that is part of it. But isn't any relationship about taking risks? She considered this, glancing away to the empty tables in the diner. Could she truly give herself to him? She took a deep breath, the familiar scent of coffee and grease swirling around her. It felt wrong to let the moment slip away again. Maybe we could start slow? Sarah offered, fighting the tremor in her voice as she faced him again. Get to know each other more outside of this place? Jake's smile brightened even the dim light of the diner, hope sparking in his eyes. I'd like that. We could grab coffee tomorrow, or I could cook for you this weekend. The idea sent warmth flooding through her, a sense of possibility igniting an excitement she hadn't felt in ages. Cooking sounds good, but just so you know, I'm a terrible cook myself. She laughed nervously. Then it's settled. A cook-off it is, he said enthusiastically, the sound of his laughter mingling with the faint hum of the diner lights. For the first time since Jake had walked in, Sarah felt a real smile stretching across her face, and the weight on her shoulders started to lift, if only a little. Still, something nagged at her, a voice that whispered reminders of her past heartbreaks and fears. She shoved it aside. So, we really are doing this? Her heart raced as the prospect of opening up invited both exhilaration and fear. Yeah, we should, he replied, his expression solid, yet she could detect a shadow of doubt lingering. But as the last of the evening light faded outside, enveloping them in a cocoon of shadows and quiet, an uneasy feeling returned, weighing heavily in the air. Jake had his walls, and Sarah wasn't sure how high they rose. She didn't want any misunderstandings to form those barriers again. Just promise me, she said, her voice serious now. We're honest with each other. I don't want to play games. He nodded, and though his gaze was steady, she could see the edge of tension in his shoulders. Something unresolved lay beneath the surface. Agreed. No games. Suddenly, the buzz of her phone interrupted them, an urgent reminder of her responsibilities. She picked it up, scanning the message. A reminder about her shift tomorrow, and then something else. Work calls, she said, forcing a smile. But we'll talk more tomorrow? Definitely, Jake said, stepping back slightly as the moment shifted again. She took a deep breath, her heart clinging to the warmth of their connection, while uncertainty gnawed at her insides. She watched as he turned to leave, feeling a mix of nervous anticipation and apprehension pulse in the air. What if he walked away and phoned it all in? What if this was another fleeting interaction that wouldn't lead to anything real? Wait, Sarah called, catching him just as his hand touched the door. He turned, surprise flickering across his face. Promise we'll be honest? Really honest? Jake stepped back inside, determination in his gaze. I swear, Sarah, I won't let you down. As he walked out, the door chimed softly behind him, and Sarah felt a mix of excitement and fear swirl within her. Tomorrow could change everything, or nothing at all. She stood by the counter, contemplating the shadows he left behind. Would they truly find their way, or was this just another chapter of uncertainty? The clock ticked on, and her thoughts raced ahead. Would they unlock the truth of their feelings, or forever walk around it, wondering? Hope and fear danced within her, a delicate balance as she wiped down the counter, wondering what tomorrow would really bring. The future loomed just out of reach, and with a heart full of questions, she quietly mused to herself about the potential paths waiting beyond the sunrise. Would they grasp the moment? The next morning came too quickly for Sarah, lingering shadows under her eyes as she sipped on her coffee. The scent of the brewing beans usually comforted her, but today, it felt like a reminder of the uncertainty waiting just outside her door. She kept glancing at her phone, its screen a silent witness to her anxiety. Would Jake really show up? Would he follow through? Her shift at the diner was a blur of movement. Orders flew in, and she couldn't shake the constant flutter in her stomach. Each time a customer walked through the door, her heart skipped a beat. She knew she would need distractions today, but each greeting felt like a reminder of how much she wanted to see him. Finally, near the end of her shift, as the afternoon sun began to paint the diner's interior in warm hues, her phone buzzed. First, a rush of excitement, followed by apprehension as she saw the message light up the screen. Hey, looking forward to the cook-off later? Can't wait to see what culinary disaster awaits. It was Jake, and a smile broke through her nerves. She replied quickly, teasing back about her lack of skills in the kitchen. But as she worked, squeezing in the last few orders, her mind raced with thoughts of their upcoming meeting. Cooking was such an intimate process, a way into each other's lives. Could she really let herself go down that path? The clock struck 5, and she felt a mix of excitement and dread. What if he didn't come? What if they just sat in silence, the words they exchanged failing to bridge the gap between their pasts? As she headed home, the streets buzzed with life around her. The sun dipped low, casting golden rays against the sidewalks, making everything glow. Did Jake see the world like she did? Did he feel the same flutter in his chest? When she finally reached her apartment, anticipation bubbled up within her. Her heart raced as she prepared, tossing ingredients around in the kitchen, getting ready for the chaos to unfold. As she set the table, she fought the urge to clean everything excessively. She wanted everything to feel casual and warm, yet every detail weighed on her, desperate for everything to be perfect. Then, just as she finished setting things up, she heard a knock at the door. It was soft but firm. Sarah's heart somersaulted as she approached. When she turned the knob and opened the door, Jake stood there, holding a bag of groceries and wearing that smile she had been daydreaming about all day. "Hope you're ready for some serious competition." He beamed, twinkling. "Is that a challenge I hear?" She replied, attempting to sound light-hearted despite the intensity gathering between them, but he stepped inside. The air around them charged, and locked the door behind him. The moment felt exhilarating yet terrifying. They shared snippets of banter as they moved into the kitchen, each playful jab met with genuine laughter. The tension from the diner had melted, but caution lingered just beneath the surface. A subtle flicker in the atmosphere whispered that nothing would stay simple for long. As they started pulling out ingredients, moving closer with every shared tool and chopping board, Sarah felt herself drawn to him, even more so than during their first encounter. They worked side by side, exchanging stories and laughter, but beneath those exchanges, something deeper began to awaken. Suddenly, Jake paused mid-chop, looking at her intensely. "You've got flour on your cheek." He reached over and gently wiped it off with his thumb, lingering just a moment too long for her heart to handle. And in that heartbeat, amidst the zest of the lemons and the chaos of the kitchen, Sarah wondered if she was ready to face whatever was brewing between them. Could she truly let go of her fears? Could they navigate the uncertainty of what they felt? Just then, the sizzling of the pan interrupted the silence, a sign that the chaotic beauty was only just beginning. But as the night stretched on, the line between friendship and something more blurred tantalizingly. Was she capable of surrendering her heart once more? The thrill of discovery loomed ahead, but for now, their laughter filled the air. What would be unveiled once they stepped further into the unknown? The night unfolded like a sweet melody, the kitchen alive with the aroma of garlic and herbs, laughter peppering the air as Jake and Sarah danced through recipes and banter. Each stir of the pot pulled them closer, infusing their hearts with warmth as they shared stories, real stories that peeled back layers of pretense. "Tell me more about your dad," Jake urged, his eyes sincere. A lump formed in Sarah's throat as she thought of the quiet strength of the man who had shaped her life. "He worked 2 jobs just to provide for us," she shared, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. "He's the reason I believe in hard work." Jake nodded, processing her words as he chopped vegetables. "That's incredible, Sarah. I can see where you get your strength." They locked eyes for a moment, an electric spark igniting in the silence. As they transitioned from chopping to cooking, Jake playfully teased her about her choice of pasta. "You're going with the safe option, huh?" But her heart leaped. Safe was all she knew, but could she push those boundaries alongside him? "Tonight is about taking risks, right?" She shot back, a smile playing on her lips. He grinned, the flicker of excitement reflected in his gaze. "Then let's risk it all." And with that, they dove into a light-hearted competition, flour flying, laughter echoing, and genuine connection blossoming. The lines between them dissolved, revealing the honest selves they had long concealed. With every joke, every anecdote, the walls they had built around their hearts began to crumble, revealing what they truly felt: the yearning for closeness, the fear of vulnerability, a promise of something more. But as the dishes simmered and the strains of their laughter filled the kitchen, uncertainty lurked in the shadows. Would the closeness of this moment translate to the uncertainty of what lay ahead? As they finally sat down to eat, a beautiful spread of pasta and homemade sauce lay before them. The first taste felt magical, but a weight had settled in Sarah's heart. A question that needed to escape her lips, a fear that begged to be cast into the light. "Jake," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "What happens when the night ends? When the cooking is over? What does this really mean for us?" Jake set down his fork, the humor fading from his eyes. "I think what we find right now is just the beginning," he whispered, his voice barely above a breath. "I want to give this a chance, see where it can go. I want you to know me, and not just as the millionaire boss." His words hung in the air, a promise laced with hope. But Sarah felt a knot tighten within her. She had always wondered if love was worth the risk. But the glint in Jake's eyes warmed her heart, igniting a flicker of courage. "I want that too," she replied, her voice even stronger now, fueled by honest intent. "But I need you to understand me. This world can be messy, and I am scared." He reached across the table, taking her hand in his. His touch felt electric, grounding her in a moment that promised more. "We can navigate the mess together," he said firmly, embracing her uncertainty with a gentle squeeze. "Life isn't perfect, but I believe we can create something real." His words unraveled a web of doubt, and Sarah began to exhale the tension she had held so tightly. As they laughed, flirted, and shared their favorite memories, she felt the gravity of their connection deepening, the chaos of their worlds harmonizing into a beautiful symphony. With every shared glance, with every soft touch, Sarah realized that security could only come by stepping into the unknown together. And just as the tension of the night turned into joy, the weight of fear eased, a flicker of promise igniting hope in their hearts. Later, as they cleaned up the remnants of their heartfelt dinner, she felt a swell of gratitude. "Thank you for tonight," she said, her heart racing as she turned to face him. "I needed this." Jake leaned against the counter, grinning. "Me too. It felt important, like we're finally being real." And in that moment, she knew they were embarking on a journey filled with both triumph and challenge. But most importantly, it was theirs to navigate together. As they drifted to the door, the night air wrapped around them, carrying the promise of new beginnings. Sarah felt lighter, her heart buoyed as she looked Jake in the eye, savoring the thrill of what could be. "Can we make this a regular thing?" she asked softly, vulnerability shining through. "Absolutely," he replied, his voice a steady anchor in the uncertainty that lay ahead. They stood on the threshold, two people intertwined in an unexpected love story, ready to embrace their journey, the transformation that had bloomed between them, knowing that together they could face whatever lay ahead. And as they stepped outside into the Midwestern night, hand in hand, everything felt possible. The world was vast, but together, their future was bright, unfolding toward the promise of love and adventure. Now, dear friends, it's time for you to do something significant. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that await you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this. Ending your thoughts matter. And please, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second. Let's build our community together.